The Nine of Swords in the Oak Tarot of Love and Romance presents a startling inversion. Instead of the traditional image of a person jolted awake by nightmare-fueled anguish, Joe Bandel gives us a scene of radiant protective healing where simple words become the ultimate sanctuary. It's a complete shift from the internal torture we usually see in the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition. Why did Bandel choose to turn one of the most feared cards in the deck into a celebration of self-worth and external validation?
It's a bold move because the Nine of Swords is historically the Dark Night of the Soul card. In the traditional 1909 Rider-Waite imagery, we see a figure sitting up in bed, head in hands, with 9 swords hanging on the wall like a heavy cloud of mental static. It's the card of 3 a.m. anxiety and catastrophic thinking. But in his Oak Matrix philosophy, Bandel argues that the mind, the elemental energy of swords, doesn't have to be a cage. It can be a protective structure. In this specific card, those 9 glowing swords aren't weapons. They form a circle around a man and a woman, creating a sacred space where the man tells the woman she's beautiful and worthy. Her face transforms from doubt to joy. It's about using the power of the mind and language to dismantle the very trauma that traditional versions of the card depict.
But isn't there a risk in making this card about external validation? We're often told that self-worth has to come from within. Recent psychological research, like the studies published in the journal American Psychologist in late 2025, suggests that while self-affirmations are powerful, they're most effective when they bridge the gap between our current self-view and our ideal self. If a partner is the one providing that worth, does it create a dependency? Or is Bandel suggesting that sometimes we literally can't heal ourselves without an outside voice?
Bandel is definitely leaning into the latter. He describes this card as the healing power of being told you are lovable. Psychologically, this touches on the concept of co-regulation. When someone we trust looks us in the eyes and affirms our value, it can actually bypass our internal defensive mechanisms, the ones that keep us stuck in that 3 a.m. loop. The Oak Tarot uses the symbol of the oak tree to anchor this. The tree is blooming nearby, which represents grounded, enduring reality. It suggests that the words being spoken aren't just empty compliments, they're rooted in truth. In the Oak Matrix, the most romantic thing you can do is offer someone the truth of their own worth when they've forgotten it.
Let's look at the visual breakdown. The colors are warm golds, soft pinks, and healing greens. That's a huge departure from the black background of the classic Nine of Swords. The traditional black symbolizes the void and the isolation of mental suffering. By flooding the scene with gold and pink, Bandel is essentially saying the light of consciousness and the warmth of love have dissolved the shadows. The Nine of Swords traditionally represents Mars in Gemini, a very restless, aggressive mental energy. Bandel seems to be channeling that Gemini energy into communication rather than internal debate.
Exactly. Instead of the mind fighting itself, which is what those 9 swords on the wall usually represent, they're now orbiting the couple like a protective circle. It's the idea that clear-hearted honesty creates a boundary against the world's negativity. The card specifically highlights the male experience as the importance of speaking those affirming words, and the female experience as the deep sense of being seen and valued. It's an exchange. One person holds the light steady while the other finds their way back to their own joy. It reminds me of the value affirmations research from Psychology Today, which notes that for people with low self-esteem, hearing specific, genuine validation from others can sometimes be the only way to break through the self-discrepancy theory where they simply don't believe their own internal voice.
I'm still stuck on the swords themselves. 9 is a number of near completion in numerology. It's the weight before the release of the 10. In the traditional deck, the 9 of Swords is the maximum point of mental pressure. In Bandel's version, that pressure is redirected into a high-frequency equilibrium, as he calls it. He's taking the mental intensity of the 9 and using it to reinforce a boundary of safety. But is it realistic? Life isn't always glowing swords and blooming oaks. If someone pulls this card during a period of genuine trauma, is it offering false hope or a practical method for recovery?
It's a practical call to action. Bandel's guidebook says this card reminds us how powerful, simple, kind words can be. It's not just about a one-time compliment, it's about renewed worth. If you're in that dark place, the card isn't telling you to just think positive. It's telling you to look for the person in your life who is willing to stand in that circle with you. It acknowledges that the mind loves boundaries. By creating a structured honesty, as he mentions in his Organic Gnosticism podcast, we can express emotional energy safely. The swords are the structure. The healing warmth is the energy flowing through it. It's about building a foundation that can weather the storm because it's built on shared truth rather than a performance of being okay.
It's interesting how he ties it to the gendered experience. He suggests the male may feel the importance of telling someone they are beautiful, while the female may feel a deep sense of being seen. In our current cultural climate, those roles can feel a bit rigid, but if we look at them as archetypes, the active voice of affirmation and the receptive heart of healing, it becomes more universal. The male energy is the sword wielder, using the sharp clarity of the mind to cut through the partner's self-doubt. The female energy is the blooming oak, the capacity to grow and flourish once the mental static is cleared away.
And that growth is visible in the artwork. Her face softens from doubt to radiant joy. That's the core of the oak matrix, the transition from duality as conflict to duality as a loving embrace. In the old decks, the swords are the conflict. Here, the swords are the architecture of the embrace. It's a complete reimagining of what mental strength looks like. It's not about enduring the pain in silence. It's about having the intellectual and emotional courage to let someone else witness that pain and speak light into it. As Bandel often says, the embrace was always here. The Nine of Swords is just the moment you finally allow yourself to feel it.
It shifts the narrative of the strong, silent type as well. For the man in the card, his strength isn't in his silence or his stoicism. It's in his capacity to be the source of the healing warmth. He's using his words as a diagnostic tool to identify where his partner is hurting, and then as a protective barrier to keep those hurts from returning. It aligns with recent neuroscience from Grand Rising Behavioral Health, showing that hearing positive words activates the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which helps buffer against stress. You are literally changing someone's brain chemistry by telling them they matter.
That's the surgical cut Bandel mentions when talking about the sword suit. You're using the sharp mind to carve out a space where love can finally be honest. If the traditional Nine of Swords is the nightmare, this is the waking world where you realize the monster wasn't real, but the person holding your hand is. The contrast between these two interpretations really highlights the evolution of tarot from a tool of fortune-telling to a tool of psychological reflection. We aren't just victims of the swords hanging on the wall. We can take those swords down and use them to build a fence around our garden.
So if someone is looking at this card today, the takeaway isn't just that they're going to have a nice conversation. It's a challenge to look at how they use their words. Are your words swords that hang over someone's head, or are they swords that form a protective circle? The blooming oak in the background is the indicator of success. If the validation is genuine and the communication is clear, growth happens automatically. It's a very hopeful vision of how we can use the mind to heal the heart.
It really is the culmination of the sword suit's journey toward mastery. By the 9, you faced the betrayal of the 3 and the prison of the 8. Now you're finally using that mental power for its highest purpose, the restoration of another person's worth. It's a beautiful reminder that our greatest breakthroughs often happen not in solitude, but within the safety of a trusted connection.
We often think of romance as purely emotional, but Bandel's Nine of Swords forces us to recognize it as an intellectual and communicative act too. It takes effort to see someone clearly and even more effort to find the right words to reflect that beauty back to them. It's a high-frequency exchange that requires moving past what he calls the rose-colored glasses phase and into informed care. You see the flaws, you see the doubts, and you choose to affirm the worth anyway. That's the true power of the oak.
And that's the big idea here, that our words have the structural power to change someone's reality. We aren't just observers of each other's pain, we are active participants in each other's healing. The Nine of Swords is the card of that realization. It turns the dark night into a blooming garden simply by choosing to speak the truth of love.
If this exploration of healing and self-worth resonated with you, consider recommending this episode to someone who could use a reminder of their own radiant value today.